How to admit a professional mistake at work without losing credibility or trust. Most careers are not damaged by mistakes. They are damaged by what happens after the mistake. A missed deadline, an incorrect report, a costly oversight, a client complaint, a forgotten approval. Most professionals assume the mistake itself is the biggest threat to their reputation. Usually, it isn't. The real danger begins when fear takes over. Fear encourages people to hide information, delay difficult conversations, shift blame, or construct elaborate explanations designed to protect their image. Ironically, these reactions often create more damage than the original error. Managers, clients, and colleagues understand that mistakes happen. What they are really evaluating is something much more important. Can this person be trusted when things go wrong? That question determines credibility far more than the mistake itself. In this guide, you'll learn how to admit a professional mistake at work, how to tell your boss about an error, what not to say after making a mistake, how to rebuild trust and credibility, practical workplace examples and scripts, the psychology behind accountability. Quick answer: how do you admit a professional mistake at work? The best way to admit a professional mistake is to acknowledge the issue quickly, explain what happened clearly, take responsibility without making excuses, present a recovery plan, explain how you'll prevent it from happening again. This approach demonstrates professionalism, accountability, and leadership under pressure. Why admitting mistakes feels so uncomfortable? Before learning what to say, it helps to understand what's happening psychologically. When we realize we've made a significant mistake, the brain often interprets it as a social threat. Our reputation feels at risk. Our status feels threatened. Our future opportunities suddenly feel uncertain. As a result, the brain often pushes us toward defensive behaviors, minimizing the mistake, finding someone else to blame, over-explaining, avoiding conversations, becoming argumentative, hiding information. These reactions are normal, but they are rarely helpful. The most respected professionals learn to recognize these impulses without acting on them. Instead of protecting their ego, they focus on protecting trust, and trust is often worth far more than temporary comfort. The credibility paradox. Most professionals don't understand. Many employees secretly believe, if I openly admit the mistake, people will think I'm incompetent. The reality is often the opposite. Leaders usually understand that mistakes are inevitable. What concerns them is whether someone can be trusted to handle those mistakes responsibly. When people observe honesty, transparency, ownership, problem-solving, accountability, they often gain confidence in that person's professionalism. In many workplaces, admitting a mistake well can actually strengthen credibility, not because the mistake was good, but because the response demonstrated character. How to tell your boss you made a mistake. The conversation should follow a simple structure. Step 1. State the problem. Start with the facts. Example: I've identified an issue that I need to bring to your attention. Avoid emotional language. Avoid panic. Avoid excuses. Just state the problem. Step 2. Explain what happened. Provide clear, specific details. Weak: there were some communication issues. I used an outdated version of the spreadsheet, which caused inaccurate figures to appear in the report. Specificity creates confidence. Vagueness creates suspicion. Step 3. Take responsibility. This is the moment many professionals struggle with. Weak: nobody told me the file had been updated. Strong: I should have verified that I was using the most recent version before submitting the report. Notice the difference. The second response may acknowledge contributing factors, but ownership remains clear. Step 4. Present a solution. Most managers immediately want answers to 3 questions. What's the impact? How do we fix it? How do we stop it happening again? Address all 3. Example: I've already started correcting the report and can provide a revised version within 2 hours. I'm also implementing a final verification checklist before future submissions. At this point, the conversation shifts from blame to recovery. What not to say after making a workplace mistake. Certain phrases instantly damage credibility because they sound defensive. Avoid statements like, "Nobody told me. That's not really my fault. Everyone else missed it too. I was too busy. I assumed someone else checked it. It's not a big deal." Even if some of these statements contain truth, they often communicate avoidance rather than accountability. A better approach is, "I should have confirmed that. I overlooked that step. I take responsibility for the oversight. Here's how I'm fixing it." Professional accountability is often less about explaining the past and more about demonstrating control over the future. Workplace mistake examples and better responses. Example 1. Missing an important deadline. Less helpful. I had too many things to do and couldn't finish everything. Better. I underestimated the time required and failed to communicate the risk early enough. Here's the revised timeline and the steps I've taken to prevent further delays. Example 2. Sending incorrect information to a client. Less helpful. The data came from another department. Better. I sent information that hadn't been fully verified. I've already contacted the client, explained the issue, and am preparing a corrected version. Example 3. Forgetting a critical task. Less helpful. I got distracted. Better. I failed to track the task properly. I've updated my workflow and implemented reminders to prevent it happening again. How to rebuild trust after a professional mistake. Many people focus entirely on the apology. The apology matters, but rebuilding trust depends more on what happens afterward. Trust is rebuilt through consistency. Focus on following through. If you promise a correction by 3 p.m., deliver it by 3 p.m. Improving processes. Show evidence that you've learned from the situation. Communicating clearly, keep stakeholders informed. Don't make people chase updates. Demonstrating reliability. Over time, repeated dependable behavior becomes stronger than a single mistake. People remember patterns more than isolated events. The difference between accountability and self-blame. Some professionals move too far in the opposite direction. Instead of making excuses, they become excessively self-critical. This isn't productive either. Professional accountability means accepting responsibility, learning from mistakes, improving systems, moving forward. It does not mean publicly humiliating yourself, repeatedly apologizing, destroying your confidence. Healthy accountability focuses on improvement, not punishment. Why strong leaders admit mistakes faster. One of the most surprising leadership traits is the willingness to acknowledge errors quickly. Strong leaders understand something important. Every minute spent hiding a problem is a minute lost solving it. They don't waste energy protecting their image. They invest energy in protecting outcomes. This mindset creates stronger teams, healthier workplace cultures, and greater long-term trust. A simple script you can use immediately. If you're unsure what to say, use this framework. I've identified an issue that I'm responsible for. Here's what happened. Here's the impact. Here's what I'm doing to fix it. Here's how I'll prevent it from happening again. This structure works because it answers the 5 questions people care about most. What happened? Who owns it? What's the impact? What's the solution? How will it be prevented in the future? Frequently asked questions. Will admitting a mistake at work make me look incompetent? Usually not. Most managers value honesty and accountability more than perfection. Attempting to hide mistakes often causes greater damage. How quickly should I report a mistake? As soon as you understand the issue well enough to explain the basic facts and potential impact. What if the mistake was very expensive? The same principles apply. Acknowledge the issue, take responsibility, present a recovery plan, and focus on prevention. Should I apologize more than once? A sincere apology is important, but repeated apologies rarely rebuild trust. Consistent corrective action is usually more effective. How do I regain trust after making a mistake? Deliver on commitments, improve your processes, communicate clearly, and demonstrate reliability over time. Final thoughts. Nobody builds a successful career without making mistakes. Projects fail, deadlines are missed, reports contain errors, assumptions turn out to be wrong. The professionals who maintain credibility are not the ones who avoid every mistake. They are the ones who respond with honesty, accountability, and action when mistakes occur. When you stop treating mistakes as threats to your identity and start treating them as opportunities to improve systems, something interesting happens. You don't just recover credibility, you often earn respect. Because trust is rarely built when everything goes perfectly. Trust is built when things go wrong and people discover they can still rely on you. Practice with Spekero. Want to sound calm, accountable, and professional under pressure? Practice answering questions such as, tell me about a mistake you made. How did you handle it? What did you learn? How would you approach it differently today? Record yourself with Spekero and review your response for defensive language, excessive explanations, blame shifting, lack of ownership, clarity of solution. The more comfortable you become discussing mistakes objectively, the more credible and trustworthy you'll sound in real workplace situations. Related articles. how to give feedback that actually improves performance, how to point out mistakes and respond to feedback, and how to be blunt without being rude.